There was a time when stepping into the octagon was more than just a fight, it was a fashion statement. Before the Reebok deal, the UFC was chaotic, loud, and beautifully human. Every fighter looked like a walking NASCAR, shorts plastered with sponsors, banners full of local gyms and small businesses. It wasn't clean, it wasn't uniform, but it was authentic. That was the old UFC. And then came the Reebok deal. Back then, the octagon was a stage for individuality. You had Georges St. Pierre walking out in his Kyokushin gi, a nod to the discipline that shaped him. Anderson Silva, channeling Bruce Lee, fighting in those iconic yellow and black shorts. Forrest Griffin with the simple American grit of a DIY banner. And on the opposite end, Tom Lawler showing up in a Speedo, making everyone in the arena wonder if this was a fight or a dare. It was unfiltered personality. Fighters weren't just athletes, they were characters, and those characters were marketable. That variety gave fans someone to identify with. The stoic martial artist, the wild brawler, the class clown. It was all there, painted in polyester and patches. And behind the style, there was money. Before 2015, fighters made real income from sponsorships. Brands paid to get their logos on walkout shirts, banners, and shorts. Smaller fighters, the ones not making main event money, could earn tens of thousands from local sponsors alone. That was life-changing cash for people who might only fight twice a year. Fighting was already unpredictable. Sponsorships gave stability. Then, in July 2015, the UFC signed a 6-year exclusive deal with Reebok, later replaced by Venum in 2021. And just like that, the sponsorship game was over. The uniforms looked professional, standardized, clean. But something was missing. Every fighter started to look the same. No more custom colors, no more patches, no more personality. It was as if someone had turned the UFC from Street Fighter to EA Sports UFC career mode. The Reebok kits stripped fighters of the very thing that made them distinct. The same shorts, the same shirts, the same look. The only difference was the nameplate. And fighters felt it, not just emotionally, but financially. Fighters didn't just lose creative freedom, they lost income. Under the Reebok deal, fighters were paid a flat sponsor rate based on tenure, not popularity. That meant a debuting fighter got a few $1,000s, while stars who used to earn 6 figures from personal sponsorships were capped. Imagine being a star like Donald Cowboy Cerrone, known for his Budweiser sponsorships, his cowboy hat, his whole brand, and suddenly, all of it's gone, replaced with a Reebok kit worth less than your walkout boots. The irony is, the UFC justified it by saying they wanted the sport to look more professional, like team sports, the NBA, the NFL, soccer. But here's the difference. Those athletes are part of a team. UFC fighters are independent contractors. They pay for their own camps, their own coaches, their own medical bills. They don't get guaranteed salaries. They live fight to fight. So limiting their sponsorship income doesn't make the sport more professional. It just makes survival harder. Now the UFC seems to be realizing it went too far. With the Venum deal, there's a hint of individuality creeping back in. Take Alex Pereira, for example. His tribal shorts, the dark gray with tribal markings, are instantly recognizable. It's subtle, but it's something. When you see those shorts, you know who's walking out. That's branding. That's identity. And that's the difference between a fighter you watch and a fighter you remember. Creativity sells. It makes fighters marketable outside the cage, in endorsements, media, even video games. Fans connect with individuality, not uniformity. From a corporate perspective, the UFC's decision makes sense on paper. Centralize branding, control imagery, maximize uniform partnerships. That's textbook corporate strategy. But in culture, it's a misread. Fighting is not a team sport. It's a human story. Fans don't fall in love with uniforms. They fall in love with characters. When everyone looks the same, the stories start to blur. You can't build legends out of templates. The UFC wanted to look more like the NFL, but the truth is, the UFC never needed to. It was special because it was messy, because every fighter brought their own energy, their own flair, their own small piece of chaos into the octagon. That chaos built stars. That individuality built connection. And connection builds legacy. So maybe it's time to bring back a little bit of that color, the gi, the flags, the weirdness, the personality. Because at the end of the day, the UFC isn't just fighting, it's storytelling. And without individuality, you lose the story. There